After missing out last week on the Dutch Grand Prix, I'm happy to report that I am back and away from touching grass to report on this week's race. Now let me just see what race this is, and oh, Monza. Now, I won't be pessimistic yet as of riding on Thursday, since for all we know, Ferrari can really upset this weekend. Whether that's a good result or a bad one, I don't know. But enough about that. We are finally in Monza, folks, which means the European leg is at the end, and for some, it'll be tense times ahead, and for others, maybe stress is alleviated. But for us, the fans, we have a nice meal in front of us ready to be eaten. Mainly, it's a title fight that we have, since yeah, we can sit here and complain about how the title fight is between two drivers who aren't the best, but boo-hoo, that's like 90% of F1 summarized. Like I've said, folks, going outside and touching grass has made me see the light. Even though Lando Norris is a shit bottler who mopes more than he learns, and Oscar Piastri is in a gray area when it comes to how truly good he can be in a situation like this one, it's still a title fight. Even if it's not 10 out of 10, at least we have some competitiveness compared to years like 22 and 23. Plus, even if you really are negative about it, at least 2026 is next year, so there is the chance that things can shake up really big. Anyways, Monza. This circuit is a stapled on classic, and for good reason. Throughout the years, we have had so many moments like Ricciardo winning in 2021 after some certain shenanigans, and even in the dead year of 2020, Magnussen offered his body and soul to the F1 gods to give us a winner who wasn't named Lewis Hamilton, and we instead got a really nice battle between Sainz and Gasly. And even in the quote-unquote boring years, we still get peak racing from time to time, like the Ferrari Civil War of 2023, Charles Leclerc showing his hammer to Lewis in 2019, and that classic dive bomb by Daniel Ricciardo in 2016. So Monza is a fantastic track, and given the nature of the grid, I think we could expect a pretty awesome race up and down the field. So let us do what we always do every single race weekend. Let us recap the week and find us some winners and losers. So go join the Discord to join the Discord, and subscribe if you're new if you are new. So enough yapping, and let's get to quacking.
See those clouds up in the corner? That's where the rain is coming from.
So as always, peasants, we have the recap first, and we do have a couple of stories on Thursday. Firstly, there of course was the news that Colton Herta would finally make it to F1 as a reserve driver for Caddy, which on one hand is great. He could finally get his super license points and potentially join the grid in 2027, or more likely 2028. What isn't good about this, however, is the possibility of Colton joining F2 for next year. In an ideal universe, this would be like Kanye West playing against disabled basketball players, but in reality, we don't know what will happen to Colton. I have made plenty of videos on the fraudulent series known as F2, but basically, you can buy the best parts and the best people to set up your car to win the series, and in a way, this is kind of necessary. This is why the series is dubbed the Mecha Chrome Lottery, since it's really up to chance if your engine will blow up or not, and of course by chance, I mean by how much money you have. If F2 is a spec series, then billionaires care about the people of the world, so that's why I'm a bit worried about Colton Herta. Just hope and pray he doesn't go. Anyways, in brighter news, Ferrari are an Italian team, so of course, they need a special livery for this historic Italian race, and oh fuck yes. This is based off a Lotus car, so let us only hope that we can replicate his successes this week. Anyways, that's really about it in terms of stories, I think, so let us move on to Friday for FP1 and FP2. Do not disappoint, Ferrari. FP1 time, and we would have some driver swaps. Alex Dunn once again took over for McLaren in this session, but wasn't nearly as impressive as the Austria session, and alleged Antonelli equal Paul Aron would be in the Alpine this time. As for the rest of the session, it'd play out like usual. Some drivers looked mighty impressive, some drivers got blocked heavily, and some went off to the gravel. In this case, Lando Norris maybe is trying to warm up for his future battles on Saturday or Sunday, which hey, at least he's rehearsing now. And as for the times, oh my God. Guys, I'm not going to say it, but maybe. It also helps that McLaren look a bit slower here, which yeah, could be the sandbags, but let a man dream, come on. Also, Williams, as to be expected, looked pretty rapid here since their strategy really just seems to engine mog the whole field for this one race. Sainz in particular looks really good since he finished in P3 behind both Ferraris, which technically made it in all Ferrari top 3, but they have to tread carefully. Lando last time out with his Mercedes engine DNF'd as we know, and George Russell today had an engine failure that ended off the session. session. So let's move quickly to FP2, and perhaps the racing gods are prepping something nice for us. Early in the session, both McLaren drivers reported that their mirrors have cracked, which on one hand could deliver us something exciting, but considering both drivers' ludicrous mistakes throughout the season, maybe they've always been cracked. Anyways, in this session, no one was cracked in the sense of if they were good, since I believe everyone was involved in something. Albon blocks Stroll, Stroll blocks Yuki, Charles is off, Lewis is off, Kimi is off, and beached. I mean, Jesus, man. Even the fastest driver this session, Lando, had his moments off too, which kinda gives me more hope for a banger race. Anyways, with that aside, it really wouldn't feature much else other than Sainz once again impressing in this session with another P3 finish. So, what have we learned today, class? Well, on one side, yeah, Ferrari maybe looking back in the fray, McLaren still being the fastest but not by much, and Williams may be in contention for a hot result as well. However, we ultimately won't know too much until Saturday, which speaking of, let us move on to FP3 and quali to find even more answers for this weekend's race.
You're a victim.
FP3 would be a boring session, all things considered, other than the drivers going off at turn 1 again, and Max and Ocon reminiscing on the good old days of Brazil 2018. So the final grid order to qualify seems to be McLaren as the fastest, who would have thought, Ferrari in striking distance, Mercedes in no man's land, and Red Bull. So with that said, let us see how qualifying will go. Q1 begins and nothing of note really happens. The only exciting bit would be at the end where track Evo was once again extreme, but no one really improved despite that. So yeah, disappointed, but I'm sure not as much as Racing Bulls, since Hadjar, our most recent podium finisher, finally got out in Q1 while Lawson was dead last. The other Q1 exiters would be the Alpines and Stroll, who all disappointed equally. Q2 time out, and unlike Q1, there was something slightly tense. Professional bottler Lando Norris did what he does best and left things tight for him after being under zero pressure at all, which made things very tense for him and the team. And to rub even more salt in the wound, this guy fucks up his second lap so badly and it puts him in the drop zone, but he finally uses his brain again to go up to 5th at the clock. Why am I supposed to take him serious again? Anyways, another disappointment this session would be Williams, since what even happened? They were fast, and then they were not. Self-inflicted if you ask me, but who knows. The Hasses and Hulkenbergs would round out Q2, and here we go now, Q3. Yeah, you knew this one would cook. Norris goes fastest with a 19.4, and then is usurped by Pastry with a 19.05, and then Charles licks the shit clean off of his ass with a 19.007, and then Max, from nearly full court, goes to the top with an 18.9. This is peak Formula 1 quali, everyone, and this is also only the first runs. The second runs, however, would once again be disappointing though. Lando Norris made things hard for him again since he was 7th, but he uses his brain again to finish in 2nd from Pastry in 3rd, and Max, who still stays on pole position after briefly losing it and setting the new all-time record at the track. So kinda a disappointing end to the session, but this race should be very spicy, so long as McLaren don't tire mog their way to victory again. Before lap 1 even begins, we would already lose a car in Nico Hulkenberg because, I don't know, they got him. Anyways, now the race begins, and Lando was again on the grass in lap 1 this season, but then he pushes Max off the road at turn 1, and of course in the nature of F1, Max would be penalized if he didn't give the place back, but ahead of the apex is a good thing, right? Anyways, with Max now ahead chasing behind, it wouldn't take him long to get ahead of Norris again, while Charles was simply struggling to stay ahead of Piastri. I think it's clear this guy is on 0-0 wings, since he is a bullet in the straights, but loses like 2 seconds at the turns. At least Lewis looks good. Anyways, the race now calms down with some minor incidents like Ocon and Stroll doing their usual shenanigans, and now we have the first and only stops for some, but others prefer going long and maybe putting on the soft tire at the end, so let's see if anything spicy comes from that. Anyways, another retirement in this race would be the other old head Alonso, since his car committed suicide after being in P16. Can't say I blame him, but other than that, we got nothing, man. I mean, Max finally pit, but there's no safety car, no nothing. Sainz and Behrman did have an incident, but nothing came of it. However, we finally came, everyone. He actually finally boxes on 45 lap old mediums. That's a different discussion right there. And the next lap, Lando boxes, but he has a slow pit stop, which puts him behind Piastri. You know, maybe the favoritism rumors do have some weight. Anyways, the cars will be swapped around, and now they are both told they're free to race. Pussies. Anyways, the race ends with a weirdly dominant win from Max, and the McLarens round out the podium. I guess Red Bull finally decided to have the fastest car. Now for the winners and losers, and as always, losers first, and we have McLaren. Hear me the fuck out. In this state of the title fight, they didn't win the race, which boohoo, they have it in the bag anyways, but the top two in the standings couldn't even catch up to Max. I know Max was likely in the fastest car, but they lost by 18 seconds. Even without the pit stops, they would have lost by 6 seconds. That Red Bull car wasn't that far ahead of the MCL 39, and it makes this title fight seem extremely lame. Not to mention the pit stop shenanigans. So yes, 2 and 3, great result, but come on, can this team stop being lame? Next up is Alpine, since I guess they're just in that phase again. You have a couple of weekends where they look pretty good, and by they I of course only mean Gasly, and then other weekends where the teammates are close to each other, which is not a good thing for this team. This weekend was obviously the latter, and they may as well just wrap it up now till the end of the season. Despite having 20 something points, they are dead last in the standings and super far back from 9th. You really gotta feel for them too, since the midfield is just that close and tight, and Alpine aren't even necessarily bad, it's just the circumstances of the season. And of course, when I say Alpine, I mean only Gasly again. Now, in fairness, Colapinto was matching Pierre this weekend, but like I said, it's almost never a good thing if the teammates are close to each other, which lo and behold, it wasn't for this race. I don't know how they need to improve. Most of their issues really just boil down to skill issue for the team, so who bloody knows? Maybe next year when they get the Mercedes engine buff, they'll start locking in again and looking like the proper midfield household names again. Next is Racing Bulls, who after the high of Zandvoort really failed to live up to expectations here, and I don't say that lightly since last week he had Isaac finishing in 3rd for his first podium ever, and even Liam scoring good points as well. It was sunshine and rainbows for the team, but less than a week later, they qualified in 16th and 20th, disappointing every single human being on this planet, dead and alive. Obviously, around this track that produces DRS trains out the wazoo, it was always going to be tough to come back from that unless they have some good strategy, but come on man, this is Racing Bulls we're talking about here. It really doubly sucks too, because Hadjar and Lawson couldn't even make up for the car's deficit, and it led to a bad race by the both of them, especially Liam. Let us pray for their well-being in Baku. P5 or P dire on the cards, no in betweens. Moving on is Williams, since what even happened? Williams had a bigger fall off than Kanye, since everything that made them good this weekend just went out the window for no reason. I don't even have much to yap about since I'm lost. I was hyped for them, and specifically Sainz after Friday, but they just shot themselves in the foot and acted all mopey afterwards. I'm thinking they did what Verstappen's team and Ferrari team have done many times this season, and that's in an effort to find even more pace. They try a different setup for the car in FP3, which then kills all of that pace that they did have and made them slower. I mean, you know the tale of don't fly too close to the sun, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened to Williams. And to make things doubly bad, the midfield is so ultra tight, they can't afford to do this, not when Gabby's in the top 8 along with others. At least Alex scored some points. Finally, we have Aston Martin for just being unlucky. Stroll was doing whatever the fuck he does, and while Alonso was fighting for points with Gabby, his fucking suspension breaks over a stupid ass curb, which obviously killed his race. And like I said, Stroll was doing whatever he does, so great job Aston, dead last and 0 points. But now we have the winners, and first up, I have Red Bull, who finally give me a bit of hope. Max this weekend, as we know, was phenomenal. He stuck his big smelly car on pole, and even Yuki was able to get into Q3, but of course the main dish was the win. Obviously they ain't getting shit this season, but these moments like getting pole in the win, it's just special for the team in a season like this one. Max had no business being on pole and winning. Yes, you could say the Red Bull car was faster this weekend and maybe the fastest overall, but winning like that against McLaren, it's generational. I really have no other words other than if only Yuki had a great race too to round off his Friday and Saturday. Next up is Ferrari, who are just terrible, man. We looked faster here, and even with the team messing up quali, at least the race was kinda decent. We definitely looked a bit faster here, which is giving me a bit of hope, because since Spa, I would say we have been the second fastest team on most occasions, but we still have ways to go, and to be honest, I don't even know if they are winners. I know I sound like a rambling lunatic, but fuck you, man. I say Ferrari are winners because I can. You know what, actually? From now until Abu Dhabi, Ferrari will be in the winners category. If I pretend nothing is bad, then everything is good. So congratulations to Ferrari for winning the F1 championship. Next is Gabby, who once again was so beautiful. Ever since Austria, with the exception of Silverstone, Gabby has had Hulk on a leash in both qualifying and the race. And I have to say this again, it's against Hulkenberg. Hulk is no slouch, so the fact that Gabby is doing this against him, I mean, shit, man. Gabby was so good this weekend from beginning to end, and it makes these feelings worse when you realize that next year at Audi, he will not sniff these positions again. But yeah, I really got nothing to say since he's still on good form, doing everything he can. So good job, Gabby. Here's a gold star. Finally, I have Kimi, who yes, wasn't that high up in positions, but it's a major improvement to the past couple of weekends. It's no secret that Kimi has been going through it since Miami, really. Many crashes and other moments have led people to believing this guy was genuinely trash. Saying he needed another year in F2 or a spot at a lower team in F1 is one thing. Saying he's trash, however, I'm convinced you lot saying this would say Max in 2015 was overrated, but look how things turned out for him. We need to support Kimi in every single way we can, and this weekend, especially in his home crowd, was really good for him. So let us see how Baku can end up for him. Now for the bonus category, and I have the Sandcastles of the week, and I have Mr. Lando Norris here. From FP1 to the race, this guy was trying his best to make the biggest sandcastles, and in a title fight when you're 34 points back, yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing to do. Oh well, congratulations to Oscar Piastri for the 2025 World Drivers' Championship. Now for how my predictions ended up along with yours. My qualifying predictions ended up pretty good, not gonna lie, just a little bit out of order. My race predictions were pretty wrong, but I'm not mad about this one, man. My random prediction was kinda right if you think about it. Your predictions were horrible, like come on guys, have a little bit of hope for Max. And finally, my bingo card is without any updates yet again. And those were my winners and losers for the Italian Grand Prix. Overall, I had fun like always here, and now we move into Hell Incarnate, or in other words, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Chaos always happens in Baku, so let us see who survives in 2 weeks' time. Anyways, I want to give a quick shout out to all members of the flock for their continued support, and make sure to join if you want cool benefits as well as just helping me out. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe since it really helps me out. Make sure to let me know in the comments who your winners and losers are, and as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.